In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday on Coping with Tre Tailor. Kobi. In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with Tre Tailor. I am Tre Tailor, and thank you guys so much for joining us today. Today, we are coping with whatever everyone is catching out here. Is it cold? Is it flu? Is it COVID? Well, Dr. Helmut Albrecht with the USC and Prisma Health joins us, and he's going to tell us what's happening with everybody. Dr. Albrecht, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
They're all happening. All at once.
Oh, my goodness. Well, we'll talk about that in just a minute. Also, do you have a family member that has diabetes, and do you know how to handle it? Well, Kiona Dunn-Henegan knows the answer to that question all too well as the mother of a diabetic son. Kiona joins us to tell us about her journey and about the initiative that she and her son launched to tackle all of that. Kiona, thank you so much for joining us also.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. That and so much more coming up next on Coping with Tre Tailor. But first, your COVID community updates. Well, Henry McMaster kept his office as governor of South Carolina in yesterday's nationwide midterm election. Tim Scott, the only African-American Republican in the Senate, is also going back to the Senate, he says, for his final term, along with Joe Wilson. Meanwhile, Heather Bauer knocked out Kurtman Finley, who held the House District 75 seat for a decade, and the GOP holds on to the state superintendent seat with a win for Ellen Weaver. Over in Sumter, there's a tie for the mayor's race there, and in Richland District 2, you can see that 4 new board members were elected: Angela Nash, Tamika Washington, Nikki Porter, and Joe Trapp. Also in Georgia, while Stacey Abrams lost her bid for governor, it looks like there'll be a runoff in December 6th between Herschel Walker and Reverend Raphael Warnock, as neither gained 51% of the votes. There is finally a Powerball winner after a delay in getting the results due to a technical glitch. The sole winning ticket holder of $2.4 billion with a B is from Southern California. Now, the person or persons have 1 year to claim their prize, and according to California law, they have to do it publicly. Meanwhile, there were 3 big winning tickets sold in South Carolina, 2 for $50,000 and 1 for $1 million, sold in Fort Mill and Aiken. For the most up-to-date list of times, dates, and locations for COVID testing, visit scdhec.gov. Scrolling at the bottom of the screen, you will also see information about COVID vaccinations at several retail outlets, including Kroger, CVS, that includes the CVS located in Target stores, and also in Walgreens. You'll also see information about the Comet bus system in Columbia, South Carolina, where you can not only get a vaccination and a test at the main location, but you can also catch a free ride to the Comet. Get Set Up is also offering free information for seniors and others who are technologically challenged and having a challenge making their COVID appointment. You can call Get Set Up and get information. We also have information about financial services, including funeral services, funeral expenses reimbursed from FEMA. You can see that information on the screen. Also, Lexington County has a bill assistance program. Dominion Energy has a bill assistance program, and also SC Housing. There's also student loan forgiveness that is still going on. You can see that website. And if you or someone you know is having a challenge coping with COVID or coping with anything, SC Department of Mental Health has a 24-hour assistance line entitled SC Hopes. You're watching Coping with Tre Tailor, giving you info and advice to help you thrive and survive in life, because we will always be coping with something. We are streaming live on the In It Together Facebook page. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow, and find out all the great information that they have to tackle diabetes, to get your health back in order, and also to stay on track. They've got both virtual and in-person diabetes prevention programs. So please log on to that Facebook page, check it out, hit share, like, and subscribe. We're also streaming live on the In It Together YouTube channel. Again, they've got such great information on their YouTube channel, so please go over there and don't forget to hit the subscribe button. In addition to that, we are streaming live on the TailorMade production page. That's the home of Coping. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow, and not only receive notifications as to when we go live every Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday, but also on Thursday and Friday. We're streaming live on our YouTube channel. Also, please go over there as well. And we would love for you to hit subscribe, where you can find 3 years of information, interviews, and also all types of great resources. We also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. Scrolling at the bottom of the screen throughout the show, like I said, you'll see all of the information that we just shared with you. So please post and share so we can get the message to the masses. In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor, and we are going to talk today. Today we're coping with the flu and COVID and a cold. Oh my, everyone seems to be coughing. And in the midst of cold and flu season, we need to figure out what's going on. Dr. Helmut Albrecht is an infectious disease specialist and medical director of Prisma Health and USC School of Medicine. He joins us today to kind of take all of this in. Dr. Helmut, why is this such a bad cold and flu season? Is it COVID?
Got to unmute myself. Sorry. Yeah, no, it's everything. COVID is not gone. There's still a lot of COVID. We usually at this time of the year see hardly any influenza in South Carolina. We're 2 months early and it's bad. And then there's a adult RSV epidemic going around. So this triple threat that CDC has warned of a couple of weeks now has come to South Carolina, and we're struggling with it a little bit, actually.
Right. You mentioned the RSV. Explain to us what that is.
RSV is short for respiratory syncytial virus. It's typically a disease that you pick up in the first 2 years of your life, and causes significant disease in very small babies. But after years, your immunity wanes and you become susceptible again. Typically not as bad as these very small infants do, but enough to have a very nagging cough for weeks and pass it on to other people.
Wow. So how do you get RSV, and how is it different from cold and flu? And how do you know the difference?
You test for them, right? And there's some overlaps in symptoms, some significantly more rapid onset with influenza, the nagging low level with RSV and COVID, which we've sort of gotten used to by now. But they all start with a respiratory illness and the spread through that. So the droplet transmission is common to all three. Some transmit a little better and a little worse, and they have different target populations. But we're seeing all three currently in the community. RSV probably the least one. COVID, you think, is still the most, but it's actually influenza is catching up very quickly.
In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. Dr. Helmut Albrecht joins us from the University of South Carolina School of Medicine and Prisma Health, and we are talking about cold and flu and COVID and now RSV. So let's talk about the symptoms and treatments for each. Let's talk about the common cold first.
So the common cold never gets out of hand. So symptomatic treatment. What we do want people to do, which nobody really ever does, especially people like me, physicians are notoriously bad at that, stay home. If you have one of these illnesses, don't go to school, don't go to work, get tested to figure out what it is. For influenza and for COVID, we have medications that can be taken as pills now. For the cold, you don't need anything, and for RSV, there's nothing orally available for adults. But we have medications for these illnesses and can respond to that if we know what it is. So stay at home, see if you can write it out without passing it to everybody else at work, and then get tested and figure out whether we can help you with that.
So what is one of the first symptoms that you will have to determine if you, as you say, need to stay home? I mean, is it a cough? Is it a sneeze? Is it a runny nose? Could it be any of those things?
Any and all of these kind of things. The things we are worried about that should bring you to a healthcare provider is shortness of breath, which is probably the end stage of all of those. Everything else is what we call flu-like illnesses. So the body aches, the temperature, the cough, sneeze, and sometimes with colds, even the sore throats. All of those are common to all of these illnesses. Influenza is a little bit, at 7 o'clock I was fine, 8 o'clock I felt like a truck hit me, which is a little different from the others. But in the end, only testing can truly distinguish between diseases that have such similar symptoms.
Right. Let's talk about the duration of each of these. Now 4. So, I mean, a cold typically lasts how long?
There's different cold viruses
Okay.
out
really?
there.
Oh, wow.
Days to weeks. Everybody's had this where it starts in the nose and then drops down to the bronchial phase, and where you can't shake this cough for 3 weeks. There's different viruses that cause a cold. Some of them are coronaviruses, like COVID, just significantly less harmful. But there's parainfluenza viruses, adenoviruses, other viruses that can all cause these. And some of them, depending on your immune system and your age, will take longer to resolve than others. But there's no specific time that you will resolve these in an individual.
So as far as over-the-counter meds, I guess for a cold at least, are there things that people should take that really would make a difference?
So zinc has some activity against this. To keep up with your multivitamins is a good idea during those seasons. To really not fall behind on your fluid intake is probably the most critical one. So don't get dehydrated on top of that. You can go down the aisle and see what your symptoms are and find a matching over-the-counter medication. Typically, I like decongestants. I don't like antihistamines alone, unopposed, because that dries you out, and some people like that. But you don't want to dry out a big old infectious glob in your sinuses and let it sit there. So if you take an antihistamine, take it with a decongestant for these cold-like illnesses.
Right, because the antihistamine dries up, the decongestant lets it out.
Lets it drain.
So decongests. Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, you make such a good point, because I don't think anybody even thinks about the fact that you have some type of, you may have a sinus infection along with your cold or something going on where you don't want to dry that up inside your nasal passages, because that could that lead to, I guess, a sinus infection, right?
Right. Influenza alone can cause sinus infections. Typically, we associate that I need an antibiotic. No. These viral infections can cause sinus inflammation just as well as some bacteria do, and you don't need an antibiotic for that. But you also want to give your body a chance to get rid of that, which is, if you completely dry it out, you will feel the pressure building fairly quickly, and if you're prone to those kind of reactions.
Dr. Helmut Albrecht joins us. We're talking about cold and flu season in the midst of COVID and RSV, which is an upper respiratory condition. You're watching Wellness Wednesday from In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council. I'm Tre Tailor. Is there a way to lessen the likelihood of cold and flu and RSV?
So yes, as we've already talked about, don't transmit it to others. So stay home. That's one of the things. Good hand hygiene is critical for all of these. Don't leave it on doorknobs in the winter season.
Right. Don't sneeze and then touch it.
And then touch your neighbor and that kind of stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
Get the vaccines. The influenza vaccine, the worse the match is, the more people we need to get vaccinated to get the same effect. The influenza this year, a lot of people have said, well, we typically don't need that until January. We had the highest flu numbers last week. This early, the last time I remember was 2009 when the new 2009 H1N1 came around. This time it's not a new virus. We've just been so spoiled with not having a flu season in 2020, a very mild one in 2021. And this one is shaping up to be one of the worst ones I've seen since I've come here. So this is at least 8 weeks early for significant influenza activity. And South Carolina was leading the nation in confirmed cases per population last week. So this is here, and get your vaccine. If you take a flu vaccine, and you should, get it now.
Why do you think it's so bad here, Dr. Albrecht?
I don't know. In all honesty, it's we do often things less well than some other states do. So
right.
We're very quick to drop masks. We're very quick to not get flu vaccines, and therefore we tend to get more disease, the same as we had in COVID.
Right.
But we are usually with influenza season due in January, February. So people are not completely ready for getting vaccines early and that urgently, whereas other places are more used to that. But the Southeast is overall doing very badly during this flu season so far.
Mm-hmm. How long is the cold and flu season typically last, and how long is it expected to last now that so many other things have been introduced into the...
Right. So the CDC tracks it from October, from the second week of October to April. And that's the time that it makes most sense to be vaccinated. Vaccinations start around September. But typically they're in the winter month, and between November and April, we typically see a significant uptick.
Okay. Yeah. Now, of course, our show is sponsored by In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council. They sponsor Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with Tre Tailor. So, of course, we always want to be conscientious about how anything affects folks who have a comorbidity like diabetes, heart disease, high blood pressure. How do those folks, how does cold and flu and RSV impact those folks?
They're all impacted by it stronger than people without comorbidities. The other thing is that if you have a significant infection, inflammation triggers a significantly lesser response to your diabetic medication. So you're much more likely to lose control of your diabetes during a phase of significant infection.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So how do you treat it? How do you handle it if you have diabetes? And with some of those over-the-counter medicines, are there some things that people who have diabetes need to be conscientious about or stay away from?
We talked already about decongestions, for instance. Some of antihistamines, decongestants interact with other medications. Decongestants, there are certain ones that you should avoid with heart disease, which is clearly more common amongst diabetics. So you have to understand a little bit your own medications, how they interact with other medications. Get an idea of from your medical provider which ones you can take or which ones you cannot take, or discuss it with a pharmacist where you pick these up.
Yeah, and I have seen, it's so funny we're talking about this because I have seen, I think it's a quercetin that is medicine, and it says it's specifically for those with high blood pressure, for instance.
Yes, so it's typically for people who have high blood pressure, and especially with those with associated heart disease with their hypertension, should stay away from some of the decongestants and antihistamines that don't work with their medications or simply make blood pressure worse. And yes, this is a little bit of a gimmick. A quercetin is not the only one, but they've done a good job in pushing that.
Dr. Helmut Albrecht joins us on Wellness Wednesday. We're talking about cold and flu season along with COVID and the upper respiratory condition that is plaguing the country, RSV. Will COVID continue to affect our cold and flu seasons, Dr. Albrecht?
Yes, we've had several patients who had COVID and influenza at the same time, and that's not a good thing. So we've had people who've had dual or triple infection. They tend to be sicker, and so that makes some sense, and it's probably easily understandable. But since we didn't have a flu season 2 years ago, it was hard to tell. And this year seems to be they're all out in full force, and we'll see more people like that that have 2 or 3 or 4 of these viruses at the same time and going to struggle more. So they're even more important that you still got to, while we're moving more indoors and going to have more meetings face-to-face, that you keep up on the protection from all of these diseases, which essentially is not only, don't only get the COVID vaccine, please get the flu vaccine as well, and vice versa.
Right. And then I know you mentioned a little bit about this earlier. Are we out of the woods after the cold weather?
I always say when people ask me when's COVID going to be over, and I say the good news, it's over in April. The bad news, I have no idea which year. It's really hard to predict several months ahead of time where these viral evolutions go. But certainly, typically, the influenza activity dies down massively when springtime rolls around. And COVID is certainly easier transmitted indoors. And so when the good weather comes out again, we typically see a drop every year. But we have to go through this Christmas and holiday season with a significant threat of several of these viruses. So get prepared, do the right things. If you feel that you or somebody in your household is at really great risk of getting any of these, there's no shame in still wearing your mask in situations that you can't control, and get the vaccines and get them for your household and for your social circle as well.
Danielle has a question, Dr. Albrecht, before you leave. She wants to know, other than a test, how would someone know that they have COVID versus the flu? Thank you, Danielle.
Yes, the test is really the only thing. The rapid onset with the influenza can give you a hint. You can also have both. And therefore, it's hard to tell when I see a patient who coughs and has fever, which one of this is it. We have actually a significant amount of combination tests now that test for a variety of these viruses, including influenza and COVID.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Danielle. She says, yes, she still wears her mask. So do I, Danielle. So do I. All right. Dr. Helmut Albrecht is an infectious disease specialist and medical director at Prisma Health and USC School of Medicine. He's been talking about the cold, the flu, COVID, and RSV. Just be careful. Wash your hands, he said. Make sure you have all your vaccinations up to date. And if you feel sick, stay home. Stay home.
And if you feel really sick, call us.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Albrecht. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. So how do you deal with a family member with diabetes? Kiona Dunn joins us next on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Judy Gatson. As a news anchor, wife, and mom, I know how important it is to take care of our health. Part of taking care of our health is knowing if you're at risk of type 2 diabetes. Prediabetes is a serious health condition and puts you at risk for developing type 2 diabetes. It's estimated that more than 1.3 million South Carolinians have it, and up to 90% have no idea. Take a moment to visit inittogethersc.org to take an online test to find out your risk of prediabetes and how to join a diabetes prevention program that takes the guesswork out of losing weight, eating better, and being more active. You can learn new ways to stay healthy and sustain those changes over time. When you join, you'll even get support from a trained lifestyle coach to help you set and achieve realistic goals. Go to inittogethersc.org, brought to you by the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina.
Computers, they're a part of our everyday life. But when they're not working, they're an everyday problem. So call Computers Unique, your everyday solution. 803-351-5821. Is your computer running slow? Won't turn on? Do you need a screen replaced? Or maybe you just need another computer? Well, Computers Unique is your one-stop shop for all your computer needs. They have a wide variety of new and pre-owned PCs, Macs, and tablets. So call Computers Unique, Dutch Square Mall. 803-351-5821. 803-351-5821.
In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council of South Carolina present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. We are streaming live on the In It Together Facebook page and on their YouTube channel. Please go over there, hit like and share and follow, and find out when we go live every Wednesday for Wellness Wednesday. Plus, while you're there, find a diabetes support group. They are having them both virtually and in person so that you can get the information, the resources, and the support you need to get your health back on track. Again, go over to the In It Together Facebook page and also on their YouTube channel. We're also streaming live on the Tailor Made Production page on Facebook. That's the home of Coping, hosted by Tre Tailor. Please go over there also and hit like and share and follow and find out when we go live again, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We also are streaming live on the YouTube channel. We've got 3 years worth of interviews, information, and resources on there. Please, we would love for you to hit the subscribe button. And we also have a presence on Instagram and also on Twitter. We are doing Wellness Wednesday in It Together SC and the Diabetes Advisory Council. And we cover lots of issues regarding diabetes from the patient's point of view. But diabetes affects everyone in the family. How and what to do if you have to cope with a family member or someone who has diabetes. Kiona Dunn-Henegan is the mother of a juvenile diabetes patient. She and her son, Kobi, actually launched an initiative called Kobi's Konnection. Kiona, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So does diabetes first run in your family?
Well, on my side of the family, I have a cousin who lives in England and was diagnosed when she was 15, and she's now in her 50s.
Oh, wow.
That is the only cousin. On dad's side, there's no one that's a type 1 diabetic.
Right. So when and how did you find out that Kobi was diabetic?
Well, it was in 2018. He was showing some symptoms of having thirst and having to urinate a lot. I started to do some research and found this could possibly be something. So I scheduled an appointment with his doctor. and she informed us that he was fasting, so his numbers should have been within range, and they were really high. So then she informed us to go to the Children's Hospital to have him evaluated, and we did, and he was diagnosed there.
What was the first thing that came through your mind when they say, okay, your child has diabetes?
Well, listen, there's a funny story to this. Okay. So we're in the emergency room, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta, and they told me that this is what it was. Immediately, I thought about what's type 2. I thought about older people who become blind, who lose legs. That's where my mind went to. My mind went to needles that were huge, insulin. I literally passed out.
Oh,
I fell out. They brought a clown in. I thought the clown was to cheer Kobi up. Well, it turns out the clown was there for me. At this point, Kobi's looking at me like, is this lady gonna get it together? And with his strength, he said, Mom, the lady said that I'll have this for life until there's a cure. And he said to me, are you gonna cry forever? And for me, that was that turning point, just that quick, because it was a realization. He's right. What do I do with this? Do I just, cry and fall apart in despair? Or do we, ride this thing out and figure out what to do next? So I decided in that moment that we needed to stick together for him.
Right. And were you surprised that he took it so well?
I've always known that my son was an empath, right? So he feels a little deeper. He understands more. From the beginning, his nickname was Papa. And I've always called him Papa because I felt like he's been here before. He just has the ability to kind of feel a little bit more and empathize with others. So I was shocked at the words that he used.
Right.
But I was not necessarily shocked that was coming from him, because it was always, I have to look out for mom or dad. It was a caring more so for others and even understanding for himself.
Yeah. Kiona Dunn-Henegan joins us. She and her son, Kobi, launched Kobi's Konnection. It is a foundation, and I'll let Kiona tell you more about that in just a minute, about Kobi's Konnection. But I want to know first, Kiona, how has it affected him? I mean, you said he's been strong. He's always been that kind of person. How has he dealt with it? I mean, because it's affected him, I'm sure, in some ways.
Oh, yeah. Again, he's a kid, right? So he's diagnosed at the age of 8, and he's now 12. So he's had to go through stages of, now research has come a long way. So he's had to start pricking his finger and with the pen. Now he's evolved to the Dexcom, where the machine is on him. And then he has the Omnipod, where the machine is also on him, where it dispenses the insulin. So he's grown through the stages and research. With all of that, he still had to become accustomed to his new normal.
Yeah.
Having to prick the finger, but he never complained. Now, there are times where it becomes frustrating to him, where he's eating a snack that he may not tell us about, right? And then, he has a headache or he doesn't feel well. And I'm like, well, let's check your number to see if it matches. And we calibrate and check his number, and he's in the 400s. Well, what did you do? And then he's like, oh, well, I had this bag of chips, so it is frustrating at times, because he does have to make sure he tells the truth with snacks. And
because he's a kid, and I'm sure it's got to be challenging for you to monitor his food and for him to
remember
deal with the temptation of eating a bag of chips.
Yes. So we have the conversation. And that's one of the reasons why he's not denied anything, right? So we talk about and when you get an opportunity to speak with him this weekend, he'll talk about still eating his snacks. He'll talk about, liking the candy, but he also balances that out with his fruits and vegetables. He's still a kid, but we had to have the conversation about what we're going to eat.
Yeah.
What does this look like? And the honesty part of, not even so much honesty, because just remembering the earlier, our old normal, where you could come downstairs and get a bag of chips, is no longer. If now when you get the bag of chips, you have to say to us, hey, I took a bag of chips and it's 24 grams of carb, I should get 1 unit of insulin for that. And we talk through what that looks like. So he's doing better. Is he perfect? No, he's a kid. But it just takes work.
Yeah.
And communication.
How has it impacted your whole family? Are you guys all eating differently? Do you keep chips out of the house so that there's the temptation's not there?
No. I don't keep the chips out of the house simply because he is a kid. I want to teach him, this is what you have, it doesn't have you. Okay? So these are the things that you can do within moderation. These are and when you have them, what do you need to do?
Right.
You need to dose. You need to take your insulin to account for what that looks like. So we don't limit what that looks like, because we want him to learn to be independent, because eventually on his own, he's going to have to make the good decisions. So let's work through what this looks like. If we're going to have this for lunch, maybe not for dinner. So just learning how to balance what that looks like.
In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. Kiona Dunn-Henegan joins us. She is the mom of a Kobi who was diagnosed very early with juvenile diabetes, and we've been talking about how she and Kobi and the rest of the family kind of juggle all of that. And it does affect all of your family members. How has it impacted your extended family members?
Well, as far as dad and sister is concerned, everyone had to learn to navigate counting carbs, to administer insulin. I go to the school every year in the beginning and train the team. He has a 504 plan. His aunts, uncles, grandparents, everyone is on board and learning, how do we administer insulin? What happens in the case of emergencies? What do we do? When he has lows, how do you account for the lows? So everyone had to be trained. With technology, we can actually track what his number is from the phone. So this is, I don't know if you can see it, but this is a Dexcom, and it tracks what his number is while he's at school. My sister, who lives in Maryland, has access to this. So she can also track him from her location. If for some reason that dad and I don't catch a number, she's able to contact whoever he's with to let them know, hey, please address his numbers.
Yeah. Does he feel limited at all as a kid, do you think?
And when you talk to him, the first question, because I think he was interviewed the other day and there was a question on what has changed for you, and he said nothing.
Right. That's great.
He said the only thing is I take insulin now and I have to watch what I eat.
Yeah.
But he plays football, plays the saxophone. He is Georgia's 2022 youth ambassador for JDRF. We have this support group. So he's very active. He goes, he speaks to schools. So no, he's not limited in, what he wants to do or where he can take this.
Yeah, Danielle says, that's excellent. She says, modern healthcare has come such a long way, especially with diabetes. Danielle, thank you so much for your comment. You've referenced a couple of times that I'll be talking to him, and I will be on Saturday. Project Tech is an initiative here in Columbia, South Carolina, that does healthcare, connecting generations, and also technology outreach for all South Carolinians. And as you can see on the screen, there is an event to talk to Kobi about Kobi's Konnection. It's November 12th, this Saturday at 11 a.m. He's going to share his experiences and talk more about it. Let's watch this video about Kobi's Konnection.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Kobi. I'm 12. I like to play video games, travel, and football.
And hi, I'm Kobi's mom, and I want him to be able to do everything that he likes to do.
Yes, sometimes it's hard, but I have my mom and family to help.
Yes, he does. He has me and all of his family. And it does. His diabetes affects not just myself, but his father, his grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, and his lovely sister.
Hi, I'm Kobi's aunt. Thanks to research and new technology, I'm able to read his glucose level all the way from Maryland.
Hear how we handle our loved one's diabetes and how you can too.
Join us November 12th at 11 a.m. for information, inspiration, and prizes too.
So click the link and register.
We'll see you there.
See you there. Bye.
All right, so that's the event. That's you and Kobi, cutie pie.
That's my Kobi.
Yeah, so that's this Saturday. People can register for free. And as it said, hear more of Kobi's story. Why did you guys launch Kobi's Konnection and when?
Okay. So I am a mental health specialist. I'm a licensed professional counselor. And I believe that it's important when you're impacted by any kind of trauma that you find a village. Mm-hmm. This was new to us. I had no clue. I didn't know who to go to. So I reached out to JDRF, and they are basically, now they've expanded to include dealing with mental health. But back in 2018, it was just research and collecting money, raising funds for more research, not necessarily the mental health of the individuals impacted. So when I called to ask for support groups, they had some, but it was in the northern part of the city, and we're south of the airport. So I looked at Kobi and I said, well, you know what mama says, when they hand you lemons,
yeah,
we make lemonade. Actually, I said grape juice. And he said, don't ever say that out loud. I said grape juice because we had to put something extra special on this. Yeah. We had to add some magic to turn it into something different. It's not your basic lemonade.
Right. Right.
And there was no support group. So we created a support group. We were and decided that we would be that group for individuals who were diagnosed because we couldn't find one. So we're that group or the organization that nobody asked to be a part of, right? But we're here, and the mission and vision is to advocate, to educate, and to support. So it was created out of a need to find a village. And when we couldn't, we decided that we would start so that when there's someone else that was looking for a village, that we would be a part of that.
And is that village for those young people who are dealing with juvenile diabetes?
Yes. So we've also partnered with Children's Healthcare, where he was diagnosed, that when there are new families, that they would share our contact information and our email. And we have support group meetings. Since COVID, everything has changed with getting people to kind of, come back out and log back in. So we're picking up the pace as to what that looks like. But yes, we are now the official support group and have been the support group since 2018.
Awesome. I'm going to say hi to Kim Hicks and everybody who's watching In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council present Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping. I'm Tre Tailor. Kiona Dunn-Henegan joins us. She and her son, Kobi, who has juvenile diabetes, have launched the group Kobi's Konnection. He is going to be speaking via Zoom at an event this Saturday at 11 a.m. It's free and you are welcome to join. In addition to sharing his story and how you all have handled it as a family, he's also getting ready to launch his book and is going to give some of those away too on Saturday, right?
Yes, and they are already in the mail, headed there.
Awesome.
It is Kobi Takes Type 1 Diabetes to the Zoo.
So tell us about the book.
Well, he came up with the idea of the field trip because, again, when you search the web and you look for books about type 1 and kids, there are some that are out there. What he did not see was something that we grappled with and we had conversations about was after his diagnosis, what is school going to look like? What is it going to look like with field trips? Who is going to be the person to be there with you?
Right.
And because I was so nervous when he was diagnosed, for that whole year, I went on every field trip.
Wow. Yeah.
So the book is a culmination of what field trips look like.
Yeah.
In addition to what he dealt with on his first field trip. So it's a combination of the two to share and allow children to know and understand whether they have type 1 or not.
Yeah.
When you go to the zoo as a child, you have a good time.
Yeah.
And if you have type 1, you just bring it along with you to the zoo.
Yeah.
And the book shows you how he manages his type 1 on his journey on that field trip.
Awesome. Awesome. So the book is Kobi Takes Type 1 Diabetes to the Zoo. It is available. Where is it available? I see he's doing a book signing next Saturday at the Barnes and Nobles in Georgia. Where can people purchase the book, Kiona?
They can actually log on to Amazon and type in Kobi Takes Type 1 Diabetes to the Zoo. It's on our webpage as a link. But Amazon is where they can purchase it.
All right. You can see all of the information on the screen. Kiona and Kobi's email address, the website for Kobi's Connections, and also their Gmail account. And of course, please log on to Amazon and get the book. Because I think this is not only a book for kids who have it, but it's for any kid. Because again, you may know someone, I'm sure it's probably someone in a child's class or in their circle or at their church group that has juvenile diabetes. And this, I think, would be an excellent resource to introduce it to not only, like I said, family members, but to young people who may know someone that has it.
Right, because our numbers are on the rise. They're increasing with children that are diagnosed. So this book is an introduction to what that looks like.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And again, don't forget the event is this Saturday. You can log on and you can click the link. I think the link is there. Oh, yeah, there's the link right there. And people can also go to the Project Tech website for more information about Kobi's Konnection and his talk and his mom's talk this Saturday at 11 a.m. And if you're going to be in the Georgia area, don't forget to stop by next Saturday, not this coming Saturday, next Saturday on the 19th for the book signing. And even if you can't do that, you can, all of us can log on to Amazon and pick up the book, Kobi Takes Type 1 Diabetes to the Zoo. Kiona, thank you so much for, being an advocate for your son and for, and just for utilizing your skills to help other families and your whole family for doing what you need to do. So many times, I mean, we deal with diabetes. I think we are more used to dealing with it for an adult than we are with kids, you know, but like you said, numbers are on the rise. Kids are, juvenile diabetes is a thing. So we all need to be conscientious about it and know what to do and know that it is a family affair. Because the only way that you could feel comfortable with him visiting families and hanging out at Christmas and Thanksgiving and all of that, we've got the holidays coming up, is if everybody knows what's going on.
Yes.
Yeah, because
And
we
are
all,
trained and willing to be trained
yeah.
and understand and, have an open mind.
Absolutely. Once again, for more information about Kobi's Konnection and about the event this Saturday, you see the information on the screen, and you can log on to the website or call or text or email Kobi and Kiona. Kiona Dunn-Henegan, thank you again so much for joining us today. We appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you guys Saturday. Hope to see everyone.
Yay. Don't forget to register. We're excited about it.
Great. Awesome. We're excited too. Thank you. So listen, if you have a story or initiative that could help someone cope, please email Josephine at booking@copingwithtreTailor.com. If you have a product or service that could help someone cope, please email copingwithtreTailor@gmail.com. We would love for you to be a proud sponsor, just like In It Together SC and the Diabetes Action Council. They sponsor Wellness Wednesday every Wednesday here on Coping with Tre Tailor. We're also sponsored by Javis Financial Services, the Fifth Circuit Solicitor's Office, Attorney Byron Gibson, Palmetto Media Connections, Black Pages, Black Expo, the Comet Bus System, and Computers Unique Dutch Square Mall. Tomorrow, we're going to talk with financial advisor Karen Jenkins. After spending almost 20 years on the chamber board, she has been named chair. We're going to talk to her about her direction coming up tomorrow. And then Friday is Veterans Day. We'll talk to Nicole Edwards about veterans benefits and getting the benefits and service they need and also deserve. That and more coming up this week on Coping with Tre Tailor. As usual, I leave you with a spiritual reading. I can't get out of Jesus Calling. I kept saying we're going to leave Jesus Calling, but we leave a minute and always come back. So this is what Jesus is saying today. It says, sit quietly with me. All of your fears and worries bubble up to the surface of your consciousness. There, in the light of my presence, the bubbles pop and disappear. However, some fears surface over and over again, especially fear of the future. You tend to project yourself mentally into the next week, the next month, the next year, the next decade, and you visualize yourself coping badly in these times. What are you seeing? What you're seeing is a false image. It won't come to pass because it doesn't include God. Those gloomy times that you imagine will not come to pass because my presence will be with you all the time. With his help, you can say to yourself, Jesus will be there with me today and tomorrow, now and then come home present in the present moment where you can enjoy peace in his presence. That's your Jesus Calling for today, Wednesday, Wellness Wednesday, November 9th. I'm Tre Tailor. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Don't forget to hit the replay button. We had some great information about juvenile diabetes and also how to get through this treacherous cold and flu season amidst RSV and COVID. And please post and share so we can get the message to the masses. Danielle says thanks for always the informative interviews. Thank you, Danielle, so much for always watching. Until the next time, y'all, I wish you peace and abundant blessings and hope that you'll take care, stay well, God bless. And don't forget, like Dr. Helmut said, you still need to wear your mask, but you got to wear it over your nose and under your chin. We'll see you.
Coping, find peace of mind to survive through whatever. Coping, learning the way that we thrive all together. Coping, finding out what's real. Coping, we can heal, we can heal, we can heal. Coping with stress, coping with strife, bringing hope for success, for improving our life. Coping beyond hoping to do more than survive. Ways to live a healthy life. Coping and promoting, learning what you can do. 6 ways to a better you.